What's up guys, I hope you're all doing well. I'm a year on into medical school, and so I thought this would be a good time to reflect on my medical application process, try and pick out some of the things where I went wrong so that you don't make the same mistakes. So I'm going to split this video up into 3 parts. The first part is going to be about the UKCAT and BMAT, so basically the core exams involved in the application process. The second part is going to be about the personal statement, and the third part is going to be about the interview process, MMIs and panel interviews. Before I get on into the bulk of the video, for those of you who want one-to-one tailored advice from Imperial College medical students, there's a big announcement at the end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and I'm sure it will be quite useful for all of you guys watching. So the first part of this video is going to be about the UKCAT and BMAT, and specifically to do with the UKCAT. My first point is that don't start revision too early. Something that I learned is that there is sort of like a cycle when doing revision for UKCAT, that initially as in there's an exponential increase in your capacity to do UKCAT questions. And then it slowly starts to sort of decrease, and you want that peak to be just at the point of your exam, because you want to be in peak performance essentially for your exam. So I would say try and leave around 2 to 3 weeks for your UKCAT revision. Leave around a week for looking at some of the different sections of the UKCAT, looking at the different timings involved, and different types of questions that you could be posed, and the ways in which you should answer these questions, because there's always a specific way in which you should attack the question, and this especially applies to abstract reasoning questions. So whether it be going to courses, or buying a couple of books of Amazon, or even just roaming the internet, trying to understand how to answer some of these questions. I would try and spend about a week on that, and then the next 2 weeks on just doing questions. So a couple of hours every day in your holidays, just doing as many questions as you can for around a week or two, and not overloading yourself with the questions. So don't do too many questions at once. Just take it easy, around 2 to 3 hours every day, with a couple of questions, and you should be good with that. My second point specifically applies to the BMAT, and essentially for section 2 of the BMAT, there's a science section where you're going to be given loads of questions to do with biology, chemistry, physics at a GCSE level. And what most people do is they bring out the GCSE books and they start just revising through those. Now that's not the best way to do it. The best way would be to go on the internet and get the BMAT specification, which I will link in the description below, so make sure to go and check that one out. And they've given you a whole specification for section 2 about in biology, chemistry, physics and maths, about things that you should know. So make sure to go and check that out, and essentially just revise those points that are on the specification, because that's what you'll be tested on, and just use it as a tick list. So just highlight and tick off the points that you do know, and any points in the specification that you're not completely sure of, or you don't remember, then just refer back to your GCSE books and revise that way. That would be a good way to revise section 2 instead of piling through all of your GCSE books. Now my third point for UKCAT and BMAT is to do with the run-up to the exams. So don't be worried if you're not doing so well in some of the past papers. I remember from my time that, especially in UKCAT, I think I was doing quite well initially, and then I think a day or two before the exam I was getting 500, 550 in some of the sections, and I was getting really worried. But I think it was just the stress, just getting up to the exam, and then in the actual exam I managed to do quite well. So I think just remember that if you're not doing as well in the practice papers as you would hope for, that is not a reflection on how you will do in the exam. That's not to say that if you're doing well in the practice papers that you won't do well in the exam, because if you are doing well in the practice papers, you are likely to do quite well in the exam. but don't be disheartened if you're not doing as well, because it could all just be the stress playing up. And in the end, it's, how it goes on the day that matters. Now, the second part of this video is addressing the personal statement. Now, the personal statement is a very big part of the application process. Why? Because of the fact that the personal statement is what the admissions team first sees about your application when they bring it in. They see all your scores there, they see your grades, they see everything about you, all the extracurricular activities that you're partaking in, everything that you've written about yourself. That's what they see, and that's what many universities judge the sort of intake for interviews on. Not all of them, but most of them do. So that is a very big part of the medical school application process, and it's something that you're going to try and have to nail. So initially with the personal statement, I was under the impression that I could do the personal statement in 1 or 2 drafts within a couple of days and just send it off. But that's really not how it works. No matter how good of a writer you are, you're going to have to write loads and loads and loads of drafts. I think my final personal statement was like 15th draft or something. So it's no matter how good of a writer you are, you're going to have to be doing loads and loads of drafts. So it's important to go in with the mindset that you want to try and do, just get something down first of all, and as you go along, the more and more drafts you do, the better and better it will get. So don't try being a perfectionist and doing it really well on the first time, because that's not likely to happen. You're just likely to get disheartened. So make sure you go in with the mindset that I'm going to try and do as best as I can, but as in perfection won't come straight away. You would always have to do more and more and more drafts until you get to a final version. The second point about the personal statement is that don't just list all the activities, all the extracurricular things that you did, all the procedures that you saw in the hospital, all the different people you met within the hospital. Don't just list those things, because the examiners don't really care that much about what procedures you saw. They actually want to know what you took away from the procedure that you saw, how you saw the doctors interacting with each other, examples of teamwork, and maybe some examples of how you embedded that into your own habits. So essentially they want to know about some of the transferable skills that you got from the actual procedures that you saw from the people that you met. They don't just want a list, they actually want things that you took from it and how you reflected on what you saw. And the final point about the personal statement is that don't worry straight away about the number of lines you're taking up or the number of characters you've taken up. Just get something written down on the piece of paper, and once you've got that draft there and you've done a couple of sort of versions of that draft, then you can start to worry about cutting things down, about getting within the word limit. Okay, so don't worry straight away about the word limit, just worry about getting things down and making it good quality. And if you want to find out more about the personal statement and my specific personal statement, I've got a couple of videos on that, a 4-part series on my channel about all the different parts of my personal statement and sort of in an in-depth analysis of my personal statement. So make sure to go and check that out, and I'm sure that will be a great help to you. So my first point about the interview is don't get hung up on writing model answers for your interviews. This is something that I got caught up with the first couple of days I tried revising for the interview, and it was quite detrimental because you spend hours and hours writing a model answer for a question, and you try and repeat it to yourself, and you just end up forgetting it, and it can be quite disheartening if you've only got through 2 or 3 questions in a day. So I think the best way to do it, if you do want to write something down, would be to get a bunch of flashcards. On one end, write the question down. On the other side, talk about, in bullet points, some of the things that you would mention in the interview. Don't write a whole model answer down, because it will seem unnatural if you've learned a model answer. And the examiners, they don't really like it if you've just learnt all the different answers. And my final point about the interview would be try and attend a mock interview, whether it be MMI or a panel interview. If your school's doing anything, try and attend it. If there's so many organisations nowadays which are doing mock interviews, and if you're going to attend anything from these different organisations, I think the mock interview would be the best thing to attend, because it's really good to have had an interview, even if it's not real, before you go to your real interview, because it helps you pick out areas which you're not strong on. So I actually attended a mock MMI interview, and I found it really helpful, because I picked out loads of areas which I thought that I could improve on. Some of the areas were, I think, data interpretation and the role play scenarios. And so I did quite a lot of practice on these scenarios before I went into my actual MMI exams. And it gave me a good confidence that I had done something like this previously, so it wasn't something completely new to me. So I would say try and attend a mock MMI interview or a mock panel interview before you actually go into your interviews themselves, because it will give you a great boost and a great confidence that you've done the right preparation. If you do have any questions at all whatsoever, write them down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer any of the questions that you have, whether they're to do with personal statement, MMI interviews, panel interviews, UKCAT, BMAT, any part of the application process. I'll be happy to help. So just write down your questions in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. And as I promised at the beginning of the video, I have an announcement to make, and that is Imperial College are running an event for potential medical students called PotMed. And this is essentially an event where there will be loads of different doctors, lecturers, medical students talking about a career in medicine. There will be talks in the UKCAT and the BMAT. There will be a personal statement analysis and feedback, a one-to-one. So that will be really good for people writing a personal statement. There will be an ethics seminar and debate, and tours of Imperial College. And I think this is a great way to get motivated and get stuck in, and also try and refine your medical school application process with help from Imperial College medical students. So it should be a really good event for all you guys in the application process at the moment, whether you're in year 12, 13, even year 11, trying to find out what the career in medicine is about. Just come down, talk to some of the medical students, doctors, and try and get some advice. So I'm going to conclude the video here, but as always, make sure to subscribe, and I'll be trying to make more of these videos in the near future. So I'll see you guys soon.